Hey, this is Anthony Corrente from the Dynasty Drive, and you are listening to the Dynasty Hotseat.
Hello, yes, and welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hot Seat. You know what it is? It's the only Dynasty show that's a certified inferno. And today we are really lucky. We have got Anthony Corrente from the Dynasty Drive podcast in with it. You can find him at Dynasty Drive on Twitter. You probably know who he is already, though. He's an absolute legend in this game. And we're so lucky here to have him talking to us today on the Dynasty Hot Seat. Anthony, absolute pleasure to have you on. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to get into it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannot wait to hear your hints and tips and see what you end up doing whenever you're sitting in the hot seat for a mock draft. So we're just going to get right into it immediately and talk about what are some of the hints and tips that you would like to give some dynasty players playing the game today.
So I think the biggest hint or tip that I always start with is we have to kind of take a step back sometimes and remember that not all leagues are created equal, right? So I guess the headline for the tip would be know your league, right? Know your league mates or league managers, because when we're all scrolling on Twitter, right, it feels like every league only exists on Twitter, right? So, which isn't the case. And Twitter, while an entertaining app, has a tendency to become sort of an echo chamber in terms of player values and seeing a lot of the same sort of propping up of players or opinions, which is fine. But your home leagues or, any variety of leagues, not everybody plays on Twitter. So sometimes you see these trades that get floated out there or get brought up like they either, would you take this side or that side? And I just think it's important to remember that not all those leagues are kind of created the same. Where if you're selling an aging player that maybe Twitter at large is going to fade because who wants an aging veteran? In all likelihood, there's somebody in your home league or, work league or whatever sort of group of people you have playing in a dynasty league together that will have some more interest in it. It's just when we're all consuming so much quality content from so many different podcasts like yours, like people putting articles out there, it's easy to kind of get roped into or kind of slip into just the thought of, we're all kind of valuing it the same. So I guess you just got to kind of stay fluid and remember that not all leagues are created equal.
Yeah, I think that is great advice. Like you may be the same as me. You might float out a couple of offers in like a couple of different leagues. You might have the same offer in a couple of different leagues. And, in one league, someone calls you crazy for asking for it. And in another league, someone's like, oh no, you can't. Like you'll get the exact opposite response.
Yeah.
Like I remember I tried to buy Antonio Gibson for 2 firsts last season from somebody called me crazy. And another league I really picked, so I tried to sell him for 2 firsts. I was called crazy by that league. I'm like, I can't win. I cannot win.
It's a perfect point. It's there. Yeah. It just differs so much from league to league.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's great advice for a first tip. Know your league mates, or as everybody's been saying, you got to know your enemy, like the Art of War says. Yeah, that seems to keep coming up in this section. So I love that as a first tip. What else you got for us?
My second would be, especially with kind of the rise to prominence with Superflex, right? Superflex is the new hotness. That's what most of us are playing, some form of, whether it's Superflex tight end premium, just Superflex. I would suggest not to be scared this year specifically, and in all years. Don't feel pigeonholed into, I have to take a quarterback with the 101 in rookie drafts if you're in that position. Because while quarterback value is absolutely propped up and pushed up in Superflex, right? You obviously need more than you need in a standard one quarterback league.
Yeah.
This year specifically, I'm not willing to, let me quantify this by saying I'm not willing at this point where we don't know draft capital investments or anything like that.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm not willing to pass on the elite options at wide receiver or potentially running back in favor of one of the quarterbacks with the 101. So I would kind of sum that up by saying, while quarterback is important, don't lock yourself into you need to take one with the first or second overall pick if that's where you're picking in your rookie draft. Because unless you traded for that pick, if your roster's in a real rebuild, maybe that's not the quarterback you want to go into your rebuild with.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice here, right? Especially with this class, which, so far doesn't look the best, and that's great for, taking your first point and putting it together with your second point, going, well, I know my league, and I know that the 101 is definitely going to be, Malik Willis or whoever. Someone's going to take him there. So if I've got the 101, I'm just going to trade back for it, and I'll get all these other things. I'll still get the players I want, and I'm getting an extra on top. So I really like that advice as well. Knowing your league mates, and then also not being afraid to just take the player you want, not just, a quarterback because you feel you have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really like it. And for your third tip, what you've got lined up for us?
My third tip would be, and I mean no offense to this position group, but always be looking to trade running backs too early rather than too late.
Yeah.
Whether that's second contract running backs, I'm always willing to try and get out a little early for premium value on a running back than too late. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I was championing to, sell Derrick Henry a couple of years ago, and Derrick Henry went off with a season for the ages. But did he continue to appreciate in value after that? No. I mean, it seems like the value held and has started to fall since then. So I think it's an important thing to consider with these players who are reaching kind of that age cliff, especially at running back, that you should always kind of be open to, I guess you can really expand it to, don't make any player untouchable, right? Like even stud running backs should always be available for a price, especially if they're getting close to that, free agent market or second contract kind of threshold.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's something I will generally, go by, unless I'm certain, absolutely certain I can win a championship in the current year or at a push the next year. Then I'm selling every running back I've got just as much as possible, because they're around for such a little amount of time that there's no point hanging on to them whenever they're just going to decrease in value. So I think those are three absolutely amazing tips, and if you put those into practice, the only thing that's going to happen is your dynasty game is going to get stronger and stronger. So that is what an amazing start that we've just had, Anthony. Now we're about to head into section 2, where we're going to put you into the hot seat for
Let's do it.
A mock draft. Yeah, let's get on with it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we are in part 2, and we've got Anthony sitting in the hot seat. How's that seat feeling for you, Anthony?
It's scorching. It's warm.
Scorching. Oh, that is what we like to hear here in the hot seat. So we've got, just the same as usual, we've got our 12 teams. We've got 18 rounds. And the first thing that Anthony is going to do is he's going to choose, in an ideal world, what would be his premium starting position in our Superflex startup mock draft. So Anthony, the floor is yours.
Let's go. I'll miss the early run on quarterbacks, but let's try this out from the back end of round 1. Let's start like slot number 10. Let's start from the 110.
110. That is the latest anyone's chosen so far. So we're going to see how that pans out at 1.
Right, perfect. We did something different.
Yes. You got to love it. So here we go. 110. We've got our positions locked in, and let's start the draft. So I can imagine the early quarterbacks, like you said, there's going to be an early quarterback run. We got Mahomes and Murray and Allen and Herbert all coming off the board, as you would imagine. Burrow and Lamar as well. And now we sneak around to pick 110, and you've got, look at that. What an amazing selection you've got. Always so tricky to pick between these people. Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Swift. Even people like Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance still there at quarterback. Is anyone catching your eye out of those guys?
This is easy for me. It's a slam dunk layup. I'm taking Jamar Chase.
Yes.
He's the wide receiver 1. He is the number 1 non-quarterback in my rankings. I will take Jamar Chase there. And this is something I've tried to kind of toy with lately. If you're picking late round 1 in a startup, how it goes kind of early, not fade quarterback, but, address premium players at other positions before quarterback.
Nice. So let's see what happens then. So we get Jamar Chase. You're right, an absolute slap dunk at the back end of the first, Jamar Chase. And the huge advantage of going towards the end is we're right up again as well in second round, pick number 3, as a lot of those, big names are still there, like DeAndre Swift, Devonta Adams, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown still there, along with some of those quarterbacks we mentioned earlier too. So is anyone looking good to you there?
Yeah, it feels almost kind of chalky since he's the top name on the list, but I'm going to take DeAndre Swift. He's my running back 2 in Dynasty. So if I could come out of the top 2 rounds with Chase at wide receiver and Swift at running back, I feel really good about having, my first overall option at one position and my second overall at the other position out of those first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So we'll be a little quarterback deficient early, but we'll figure that out. We're not worried about that yet.
Yeah, there's plenty of quarterbacks to go around. You'll be okay, I think. Yeah, let's get DeAndre Swift, someone who last season I managed to target as much as possible. Maybe my favorite trade from last season was trading Clyde Edwards-Helaire and I think a third for DeAndre Swift whenever they were both sort of like neck and neck. And now it just looks like the best trade you could have made. So yeah, really, really pleased with that one, as we're about to end up back on I was going to say back on the clock, but I'm pausing the clock. We're back on the board again as we come to round 3, pick number 10. And we've got some great options still here. We've got Deebo Samuel and Jalen Waddle. We've got Justin Fields still there and Jalen Hurts, along with some of the high-end running backs like Derrick Henry we talked about earlier, and J.K. Dobbins too. Anyone standing out from those guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Deebo Samuel's tempting, but I'm gonna pass on Deebo for now. I'm gonna take a guy that I view as I have in my top 10 wide receivers. I'm gonna take Jalen Waddle and go ahead and pair him with Jamar Chase. So that'll give us Chase, Swift, Waddle to start. And
you're following Mike McDaniel's own instructions. You are taking Jalen Waddle like he told you to, and I can't really argue with that.
I love Waddle, man. I loved him coming in last year, and I think he delivered as much as anybody could have hoped in that rookie year. I think the arrow is pointing up.
I absolutely agree. So let's get Jalen Waddle locked in. Well, we've got Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, DeAndre Swift in our first 3 picks. That is absolutely exceptional. So let's see who we can get to join the team in round number 4, as we have people like Derrick Henry still there, T. Higgins and Chris Godwin, free agent. Always really interesting drafting free agents around this time of year, along with some tight ends still available there like George Kittle and Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews a little bit further back.
I was hoping that Dobbins was going to make it back. Since he didn't, man, I am going to take, I'm going to take Derrick Henry. I am. This is interesting. I was just saying this with Rich Cooling. I don't know that Henry is somebody I would go out and acquire in trades, but at this point in a startup where I'm trying to, win a championship year 1, ideally, I will happily take Derrick Henry in round 4 as my second running back.
So as a second running back. Yeah. I mean, you got to be happy with Derrick Henry as your second running back, and this is putting good vibes in the atmosphere for Derrick Henry after you told everyone to sell him 2 years ago. So we're clawing it back for Derrick.
We've come full circle.
Yeah. So let's get Derrick into our team as running back, our second running back. I mean, that is incredible. Like in that quick space of time, like Derrick Henry going in the 4th round, you would have never seen that coming. This time last year. So what a great pick there in round number 4. As we enter into round 5, we see people like DeAndre Hopkins, again, another name that's sliding down slowly as he gets older, and Zach Wilson and Ryan Tannehill coming off the board in round number 5 as well, and Deshaun Watson as well coming off the board. Always a question mark over what he's going to do this year, but we're not going to have to worry about that as he's locked up somewhere else, as Mac Jones is the only quarterback we can see on the board there, along with Devonta Smith and Aaron Jones at the top.
Let's go with, you know what? Let's take Let's take another second-year receiver. I'll take Devonta Smith. I'll take Devonta Smith to go behind Waddle and Chase. And we continue to fade quarterback. We'll see who makes it back to us next time.
This is slowly turning into like an experiment, right? It's like,
yeah, we're gonna see how long we can punt quarterback for.
Yeah, I think like there's obviously your zero running back strategy, but zero quarterback's a real interesting one. It's never been done. Let's see.
We're gonna see how long we can push it.
Yeah, I love it. Right, let's see how it goes. We lock up one of the most talented wide receivers in the league, Devonta Smith. He is in our team, and our wide receiver core is looking amazing at the minute as Aaron Jones comes off the board, along with Mac Jones as well. And Elijah Moore, would have loved him to come back, I'm sure. What a talent he is. And now we see three wide receivers at the top, Ridley and Pittman and Keelan Allen, along with some really interesting running backs with Elijah Mitchell and Josh Jacobs, who might find a bit of renewed life at Las Vegas with a bit of a coaching change coming in.
I will let me check one thing here real quick. See where I got these guys, how they stack up.
I know you're a Michael Pittman guy.
I am a Michael Pittman guy.
Yeah, I know that.
I am a Michael Pittman guy. I am a Calvin Ridley guy too, but I can't do Calvin Ridley yet. If I knew for sure he was going to play, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Let's throw Michael Pittman in there. He's my wide receiver 15. I feel like I'm just loading up on wide receiver talent. It's too good right now. And the only quarterback's name on this list is Carson Wentz, and we're not going to do that right now. We'll leave that out there.
Poor Carson. I said this on the show last week. I think Carson Wentz is a little. He ended atrociously, but actually, overall, it's like Carson Wentz didn't play that badly, did he? I like to watch this. He's like, was he that bad? Maybe I missed it, but
yeah,
I think when you end that way, it's so hard to claw it back.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much that's turned around already, where it's like they're talking about cutting bait with him already.
Yeah. Oh, well. I'm sure he'll cry to sleep with his millions of dollars. He'll be okay. So let's get Michael Pittman locked into our team, and let's see if Carson Wentz does end up going somewhere else before we get into our next pick in round number 7. Josh Jacobs coming off the board there, who we just briefly spoke about, along with, wow, the depth of wide receiver it's crazy. Incredible. You get people like Jerry Jeudy still in the 7th round, as Carson Wentz does come off the board. Michael Thomas as well, sitting there in round number 7 still. As we swing around to the end of round 7, pick number 10, quarterbacks sneaking in there. Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff, a bit risky. Kirk Cousins, the exact opposite, maybe, Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and take Kirk Cousins. It's not going to feel great, but I think with how happy I am with the rest of his starting roster. Look, Kirk Cousins is one of those guys where going into a startup, I want to try and win as many games as possible year one. So is Kirk Cousins the long-term future of QB1 on this roster? No. But will he be weekly or relevant weekly as a quarterback one or close to it on a weekly basis? I think there's a good shot of that. So I'll take Kirk Cousins, and look at that. We got a quarterback now. So we're getting somewhere. Yeah,
exactly. We got Kirk Cousins here. And I think great value whenever you look at the other like 2 quarterbacks close to there as well. Kirk Cousins is, someone who's going to get you points week in, week out. And, these quarterbacks can just play and play and play. So he's maybe got a few more years in the tank left than most people think. So I think Kirk Cousins is a great choice there, coming in as our first quarterback in round 7.
I'm hoping to be able to pair. Okay. Yeah, this is exact. Oh man, I'm so torn between 2 guys.
I see who you're looking at. Yeah, I think I see who you're looking at.
I'm so torn between 2 guys. All right. So let's just talk through this real quick. We feel good at running back. We got Henry and Swift, right? We've got good wide receivers. I can punt on wide receiver for a little bit. I got lots of young talent there.
Yes.
I'm torn between a couple guys that I'm partial to at the running back position, but I'm going to go on the long wait here at quarterback. And there's one guy left that I feel good about as my QB2. And I think if I don't take him now, I'm going to be sad when he goes off the board in between my next pick. So I'm going to take Derrick Carr and lock him into my second quarterback spot. And these are 2 guys, honestly, like maybe I don't always come into this targeting these as my 2 guys, but guys like Derrick Carr and Kirk Cousins that kind of perpetually get slept on, are valuable assets in Superflex. So while this roster might lack the top flight option of whether it's a Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, one of those real high end guys. These are two quarterbacks that, while they might not be the buzziest names or the sexiest names for fantasy purposes, are going to throw the ball and put up some points.
Yeah, exactly. And this was my number one tip, I think, or my number two tip when I did the first episode of the show was, in a startup draft, ADP is great, but also think about how that translates into in-season value. And if you look at, if you draft Derek Carr here and look at the names around him, I mean, good luck getting Derek Carr for Tony Pollard, who's sitting ahead of him here in a trade. Like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get Darrell Henderson for Derek Carr. It's not, they're not going to do it. So ADP here, is good, but, you need to think about it as an in-season trade as well. And I think Derek Carr holds so much value, especially if he's been playing like he has lately. He's been amazing. So, yeah, you gotta love the safety of Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins as your two quarterbacks there. It's, it isn't flashy, like you said, but they'll definitely get the job done. And you've got enough flashy wide receivers to bring you over the line anyway. So you got to be pleased. As we're coming into round number 9, a little bit of a running back run there, and some tight ends going off the board as well now, like Noah Fant and Mike Gesicki, who's going to be a free agent. I don't think Noah Fant's a free agent yet.
No, still under contract.
Still under contract there. Okay, so we've got no tight ends appearing on the board at the minute there. We have Matt Ryan and Baker Mayfield at the top. And then some interesting receivers like Odell Beckham there and Juju Smith-Schuster there as well, both free agents, along with a couple other interesting names. Anyone standing out for you?
Yeah, it stinks that Odell had the knee injury, because Odell would be the slam dunk pick here for me. So sucks to see that happen. There's wide receiver is crazy deep, man. It really is. Because there's a handful of guys here that I really like. I'm a big Amon-Ra St. Brown guy. I love Darnell Mooney. I'm going to take Juju Smith-Schuster. I know there's some uncertainty. He heads back to free agency. But Juju is a guy that I know, while the community has kind of soured on him, as he's kind of failed to replicate that big 1,400-yard season, we've seen him produce. He's a good player. I think getting away from, what was left of Ben Roethlisberger can only help his game at this point. So I'm going to take Juju Smith-Schuster and hope that he finds a comfortable landing spot in free agency with a quarterback who can help get him the ball.
Yeah, definitely. Like, his quarterback situation isn't going to get worse than Big Ben, who had 5 of his Horcruxes destroyed and was just playing like a shell of himself. So you got to put in Juju and hope that he falls, anywhere but the Browns, I suppose.
That's the one spot where I would be disappointed.
Yeah. So let's hope he doesn't end up there. But yeah, the talent's definitely there for Juju. And yeah, it's worth taking the risk at this stage as well, I think. As you got people you mentioned there, Amon-Ra St. Brown still on the boards as we swing around again, along with most of the other names we mentioned there. Cordero Patterson and James Conner, interesting older running backs there as well, available.
Both tempting, because we definitely don't have the depth at running back that we have at wide receiver right now. But I'm going to hold off, because I feel like that list, those names aren't super far apart from who I expect to still be available a little bit later on. So let's go ahead and take Darnell Mooney. This draft is loaded with wide receivers.
Crazy.
Darnell Mooney, I expect to kind of step in and be the de facto guy there in Chicago for Justin Fields now, with Allen Robinson headed to free agency. Came on strong down the stretch last year. He's a guy that I really tried to acquire as much as possible over the past year or so, while the price was still kind of depleted, because I think this year could be a ton of Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet for the Bears, and both of their value starts to rise from here. Yeah,
Darnell Mooney looks like he might end up being that number one option there for Justin Fields. He's looked pretty good so far. So yeah, if you're locking up him, you got to be pleased with the production, or the potential production, that Darnell Mooney's going to bring, as we are now swinging in really nicely into round number 11, as loads of wide receivers are still coming off the board and still looking so good. Julio Jones in the 11th round. What has the world come to?
Yeah, seriously.
We got running backs and quarterbacks. Davis Mills coming off the board there as well. A really interesting player this offseason. And Hunter Renfrow coming off, a season no one expected. Still at the back end of the 11th round. I mean, the value is crazy there. As we head up into the end of the 11th round, we got people like Ronald Jones and Terry Bridgewater and Kenny Golladay, and something has happened here. We've hit some kind of a wall because all of a sudden these picks don't look as nice. So we can see
we have gotten to the grosser part of the draft.
End of the 11th round. You can bookmark it. Once you get there, it gets a bit gross. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets a bit gross. All right. So the options at wide receiver and running back, like this is the part where it all starts to sort of blend together a little bit. And I don't think any one option is like head and shoulders better than somebody else. I think you can just kind of make a case for your guy. So what
I can show you, sorry, as well. This is your team so far. Anytime I can kind of switch in and out.
Look at all the wide receivers.
Show you. Oh my goodness. Chase and Waddle and Smith and Pittman and Juju and Mooney. You gotta love that.
We're gonna have to hit the trade market and find a running back eventually, but that's all right. All right. So we only got 2 running backs. We have no tight ends.
So something I can do as well for you, is I can just show you the running backs that are left or the tight ends that are left and get rid of all the receivers.
Yeah, let's take a look at what running backs are left.
All right, so running backs. We got Ronald Jones, Madison, Singletary, Rashad Penny.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right, let's take Devin Singletary. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into taking a running back here, but with only 2, we'll go ahead and take one. And Singletary, I'm not convinced that the Bills are going to stay or kind of steer clear of not addressing running back in the draft or free agency. But Singletary showed down the stretch that with the workload, I mean, Zach Moss was not a threat. Singletary was the guy. He was running tough. Maybe he did enough to kind of hold on to the lion's share of that job. If not, the rest of these running back options are pretty gross. So we'll take somebody that could have a decent kind of share of that backfield, and we'll throw some more darts a little bit later.
Nice. I like Devin. He looked really good towards the end of last season. So yeah, I think he's worth putting in. And the Bills, they needed to address running back last year and they didn't. So maybe they do trust those guys and are just happy to roll with them as Josh Allen does most of the rushing anyway. So that could end up being great value in that round for you. So I'll just put in all of the players again here. And again, I can filter by position if you want. Hunter Henry, the first tight end there, the only tight end.
Yeah, that's who we're going to take. That's who the other player I was considering last time was Hunter Henry. While the yardage totals, I don't think will ever be, pop off the page like they do for guys like Kelsey or Pitts. All Hunter Henry does is seemingly catch touchdowns, and had the trust from Mac Jones in Mac's rookie year. I think he's going to continue to deliver in a big way for the Pats, as much as I hate to say that as a Jets fan. But I think Hunter Henry is about as good as we can do at tight end this late, and somebody I do feel comfortable with if he's my starter. While he's not one of the premier options, he's somebody that I think is a big enough red zone threat or touchdown threat to kind of, and that's really all you can hope for out of your tight end once you are past the top guys. Will your guy reliably catch touchdowns to find himself in the top 12 on any given week? And I think Henry gives us a good shot at that. Yeah,
I completely agree. So Hunter Henry, really solid choice there at tight end. And you're right. I think you said he's got the trust of Mac Jones, and Mac Jones looks to be really settled into that team. So having Hunter Henry, still not old by any means himself, that's a good long-term option for Dynasty as well. As we now come into round number 13, and people like DJ Chark still there coming off the board. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary's mate, coming off the board as well. And Tyrod Taylor and Drew Lock, 2 brave owners taking those 2 as we come into the back end of round number 13. Some interesting players near the top. Devonta Parker. Actually seen an article today that Dolphins might be trying to ship him away, actually. Along with Irv Smith Jr., someone I targeted a lot last year. And hopefully a lot of those buys will pay off coming into this year as he's finally healthy again. Along with other people as well in there that, look not as nice as they did a few rounds ago.
Yeah. Can we see running back again?
Of course you can, yes. So running back, Trey Sermon at the top, Naheem Hines, Khalil Herbert, who looked pretty serviceable. And yeah, quite a few backup guys in there as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take Gus Edwards. I
Mm-hmm.
think of the guys left, I feel best about Gus still having a shot to carve out reliable work in that backfield. The other guy would be Sony Michel, but I'm curious to see if he ends up back with the Rams or someplace else in free agency. Gus will be back with the Ravens, and they're going to run the ball or try and run the ball a ton. And I think with both him and Dobbins back, they got a much better opportunity to do so than they did with Freeman and company this year.
Yeah,
So
completely
this
agree.
late with what's left, we'll make Gus I think he's our fourth running back now.
Nice. Yeah, Gus Edwards, excellent choice here. And, especially with, Dobbins coming off that injury, Edwards, especially at the start of the season, I think we'll get quite a bit of work as we move really quickly into round number 14. You want to stay at running back? You want to see what else is available?
Yeah, let's see what else is available across the board.
So if we filter in the rest, we see Jacoby Myers, Jalen Reagor. Wow, Jalen Reagor, first round pick in most people's
crazy
startups, not startups, draft picks a while ago. Brian Edwards there. Brian Edwards, I just literally got finished drafting another share of Brian Edwards. I have no idea why. I have so many.
I have so much Brian Edwards too.
I don't understand. He's never done anything. But here I was again. I was like, I'll take Brian Edwards again. But yeah, I can't stop myself.
All right, let's go ahead with. I'm sorry. Can I see just the running backs again?
Of course. Yes, of course. So Naheem Hines, Khalil Herbert is there. Kenyon Drake is there as well. And then we talked about some others earlier, like Sony Michel.
Yeah, you know what? Let's take Sony. He made it back to us. So let's take Sony Michel just on the dart throw that he either, carves out some more work if he stays with the Rams or finds himself a more consistent gig on the open market this year.
Nice. Yeah, I like Sony Michel as well. He looked good at the Rams as well. So I think there is a spot out there for Sony Michel somewhere. He's also not as old as, a lot of people might think. I think he's still, 26, 27 maybe. So,
yeah, he feels older than he actually is.
Yeah, completely. So he's still got a few more years left in the tank as we will see Rob Gronkowski coming off the board. Wow, and Tom Brady is right after him.
I really was hoping Brady was going to keep falling so I could take him at some point.
That is the brave decision a lot of people are going to do around this time. Yeah. The startup draft soon is like, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm taking Brady.
Banking on him coming back.
Yeah. That's really, really
all right.
Interesting. Who's got left at running back here?
Let's see. What do we have left at everything else besides running back?
All right, let's have a look. So we'll put in quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end. Marquez Callaway, Zach Ertz still there as well, and Kyle Trask is there as well. Interesting dart throw.
I have went on the record on Twitter saying just because Brady retired doesn't mean Kyle Trask is good. But I'll take Kyle Trask here just so that I can have a third quarterback who might have a pathway to. I faded all the starters too early, so this is my best bet now, I think. So I'll take Trask just on the off chance he gets starter snaps this year.
Yeah, I think it's at this stage in the draft, I think it's definitely worth the dart throw. A potential starting quarterback, this late, you got to be pleased. So we'll lock up Kyle Trask, at the back end of the 15th round. As we roll into round number 16, we got this pick and then two others left to round up our draft. Zach Ertz still available there, along with, Paris Campbell and AJ Green and Tyler Higbee as well near the top. We've got running back turned off at the minute. I can turn it back on for you as well if you want.
We can keep it turned off for now. I'm going to go ahead and take Nico Collins from Houston. I like Nico. I know Houston is a situation kind of in flux, whether it's, Davis Mills holds it down again for this year, but Nico showed some flashes down the stretch. And if there's any potential of Houston, say, moving on from Brandon Cooks, I know that's been something that's thrown around. Collins is a guy that I think could step up and command a larger market share. So this late, I'll throw a dart on somebody with the physical tools and the skill set to kind of become more of a de facto number one option in the passing game there. because somebody's got to get some targets, even outside of Brandon Cooks, even if he stays. So I'll take a shot on Nico this late.
Yeah, Nico Collins, I think, is a real talent receiver. He's got a lot of abilities there. And, now with the new, coaching over at Houston, the name of the new offensive coordinator is escaping me, but I believe he worked with Andrew Luck, and then he went on to it. They hired him from the
That's
Buffalo
right.
Bills. Yeah.
Pep Hamilton, right?
Yes, that is the
Yes.
name. Yeah, and he's done wonders with almost every quarterback he's touched. So if he can do the same with Davis Mills, then Nico Collins is going to benefit. So I absolutely love that pick there, and a young guy as well, adding to the amazing receiver core that you've managed to build, which you got to be pleased about. As we're wrapping up now, we're into the second last pick as we come into round number 17, and again these are all sort of dart throw players coming off the board here. Jamal Williams and Jarrett Patterson, Emmanuel Sanders, all just complete guesses almost at this stage.
Yeah.
As we come up to our second last pick, I'll flick running back on for you as well, so you can see Mitchell Trubisky sitting there, a free agent, could potentially get a job. Antonio Brown, also a free agent, maybe less potential to get a job.
Let's go with God, man. I just want to keep drafting wide receivers.
Yeah.
All right. Can I see just running back?
Yes, of course. So you got Tariq Cohen, Colin Hill, Keyshawn Vaughn, who I've drafted a few times now, actually, since the start of the year, just because I think he's the only running back under contract at Tampa Bay right now. So there's an outside shot there, along with, your fellow Jet, LaMichael P. Ryan, sitting there.
This is an uninspiring group. This is an uninspiring group. Yuck.
Do you know who I've just seen as well? Is Javian Hawkins, who I took in the fourth round of every single...
I had a lot of him as well.
Yeah, just because he was going to Atlanta. Did he go to Atlanta at the start? And it was like, this might be
like
the
a priority free agent. Yeah.
Oh, it was a terrible decision.
All right, let's go with Let's go with Darrell Williams from Kansas City. This late, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you get some goal line work out of him or something. It seems like it can't get going right for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like we kind of hinted at a little earlier. So, give it a shot with Williams.
I think from what I've seen, I'm a Chiefs fan, so I follow him quite closely. And Darrell Williams played better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year.
Yeah, he flashed a little bit.
Yeah. So if he does the same this year, there's no reason why he can't get those touches continuing. As we come into our final pick, Minshew, Trubisky, Tylan Wallace coming off the boards, along with T.Y. Hilton. And I'll put all the positions up for us again. I'll show you if we have any. So we've got lots of it. We've got one tight end, 3 quarterbacks, and then we've got quite a hefty amount of running backs and receivers as well.
Let's go with, actually, can you show just tight ends?
Yeah, of course. So Austin Hooper, Brevin Jordan, Anthony Fersker, Albert O, Tyler Conklin as well, still there. And then, 2 free agents, Hayden Hurst and David Njoku as well. You're a bit more of a dart throw.
I'm actually going to take Alberto. I love Alberto as kind of a tight end dart throw that late. Because not that, I know we said Fant's under contract, but I do wonder if Noah Fant is, who I quite like Noah Fant. I think he's somebody that we have yet to see the best of him. But I keep coming back to wondering if he's a player, say Denver gets in on Aaron Rodgers or one of the other veteran quarterbacks could be on the move. Is Fant somebody that's moved either directly in a move for that quarterback or in a separate move to try and acquire some additional draft capital to get a quarterback? So I will, take a shot on Alberto, hopefully getting some snaps this late. And even if Noah Fant is there, we've seen Albert get on the field and split some time with him here and there. And he's always got that big play capability when he does get on the field. So with only one other tight end on the roster, I'll take my shot on Alberto.
Nice. So let's lock up Albert O as our final pick as we see the draft roundup with Nelson Aguilar, Tariq Cohen, Kylan Hill, Austin Hooper, Quintus Cephas, Tyler Johnson, Antonio
Brown. There it is.
Amazing. And who was, we'll have to see who the final person was. It was Keyshawn Vaughn as well.
Oh, there you go.
Not bad for a final pick, Keyshawn Vaughn. And this is our team, Anthony. So we got 3 quarterbacks. We got Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr, along with Kyle Trask in at quarterback with our risky 0 QB strategy. But it's paid off in dividends for the other positions. We got, wow, look at this. DeAndre Swift and Derrick Henry for our starting 2 running backs, which is as good as it gets. You got Devin Singletary, Gus Edwards, Sonny Michel, and Darrell Williams. And then this is what the fans really want to see. This is it. The wide receiver core. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Michael Pittman Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, Darnell Mooney, and Nico Collins. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, draft wide receivers in the mid rounds.
Yeah, that is like Twitter's dream wide receiver core as well. It's like the Twitter darling 11. Yeah, like. And then of course we've got our 2 tight ends. We got Hunter Henry and Albert O as well. So how are you feeling after seeing that on paper?
I actually like it a pretty good amount considering we picked late in round 1 and faded quarterback till round 7.
Yeah,
it's could definitely be stronger at quarterback, but the studs at wide receiver and the top studs at running back help kind of supplant that for me a little bit. So while not like the ideal quarterback situation, I think it's always kind of interesting to toy around with, hey, I'm picking late in round 1 and I opt to not maybe reach for that 2nd or 3rd tier of quarterback who could be available, but instead take a couple premier options at the other positions and see who falls at quarterback. We definitely could have, maybe swapped out one of these other wide receivers and addressed quarterback a little bit earlier, but it's fun to have an embarrassment of riches like Chase, Waddle, Smith, and Pittman. So
yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that just looks so nice on paper that it's hard to pass up. Amazing. So Anthony, that is your hot seat cooling down a little bit now. I just want to say thank you so much once again for coming on, and just remind everybody that you can find Anthony at the Dynasty Drive on Twitter, and make sure you're listening to his amazing podcast as well. Anthony, just want to say thank you again for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure, and thanks again to everyone listening as well. And even though we have the hot seat cooling down for another week, just want to remind everyone that they should keep themselves and their teams lit. See you next week. Bye.